estate, they are driving impactful change. Thank you, STEM Practice, for pushing the boundaries of technological precision. So with that, this panel is going to be on artificial intelligence. This panel gathers leaders in AI and blockchain to explore their intersection in governance, healthcare, and regulatory compliance. And so with that, I'm going to have Adel. Where's Adel? There you are. Come on up and introduce your panel. You get until that time is up. Oh, you do. You have that much right there.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Adel ElMessiry. I have a PhD in AI, machine learning, and trust networks. So thank you for playing in my field. And I'm a senior entrepreneur. My track record is 3 successful exits. 1 is a unicorn. And I'm still unrepentant, so I have a dozen more going on. And it gives me great pleasure today to announce my acceptance for nomination to lead the Department of Governmental Efficiencies. Hold on. Hello? Donald? Yeah, what's up, Big D? What? Elon is not happy? What? Okay, I understand. All right, thanks. So just a quick change of schedule. So Gerard, can I lead the AI group instead? Yes. So I here humbly accept your nomination to lead the AI group at GBA. So obviously I like to joke a lot, but one thing that is dear to my heart is AI, and the field is getting hotter and hotter, as you've noticed. I speak at Davos every year, and I've noticed between big data, then blockchain, this January, 70% was all AI. We have 70,000 AI companies working right now, and about 88% of world companies are either use AI, thinking about using AI, or deploying AI. AI is going to contribute roughly somewhere between $15 and $20 trillion to the global GDP. So the question here that I have for everybody that I posed a year ago, where is the value? How do you know that those AI projects are actually executing anything? How you discover AI projects, how you verify those AI projects, how you incentivize those AI projects to work together. So that's basically was the genesis for AIVP, AI Value Protocol, which is one of my companies that aims to create one place that can bring order into the chaos that is about to ensue with a lot of AI projects coming in, and each one of them claiming to do one thing or another. And the premise is very, very simple. We basically, inspired by the BMM, we do verification on the technical side. We do also certification on the financial side. The main goal for it is for either the practitioner of AI to find good projects to work with, the consumer of AI to find the projects that they are looking for, and also to be able of verifying that data and be able of using their own data to check in a third-party manner that this AI is actually performing what they claim that they are actually performing there. And then finally incentivize all of those projects so that they can work together with one governance system that control all of them. So if you need to know more about that, just go to aivp.ai or hit me up, and I'm more than happy to talk with you about those. But then on the other thing that I wanted to mention is I'm a board member at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, which is 14,000 entrepreneurs that went through it. It's backed by Tennessee government. We generated roughly $400 million of revenue through those companies. So, and what I've noticed is a lot of innovations are happening and coming out, especially in AI as well as in blockchain organizations. So what I wanted to convey here is that collaboration between all of us in the field right now is very, very important, because we want to foster those relationships. Think about the internet. If it was not open and free, the same thing that's going to happen with AI as well. And it is a bigger case. And so in order for us to understand the layground of the AI and how it will change our world and how we can govern it, how we can look at biases in it, how can we help small companies to work in those, I'm more than happy and proud to announce my panel here. So if I can have distinguished panelists come up. All right, so AI is a huge topic and has been growing dramatically. First, before we start, what I would love to do is just have each and every one of you to kind of like do a quick introduction. We'll start with the ladies first, so.
Thanks so very much. And I'm always tickled when I'm in a place and I have people in the back, because I'm the daughter of teachers, and my father always made me sit in the front no matter what. And so I can always tell whose parents are not teachers when I go into a room. But it's good to be with you. I was here yesterday, and those of you who were here yesterday saw me in the previous panel. I am Delegate Michelle Lopes Maldonado. I'm a recovering tech lawyer, cut my teeth at AOL doing back-end platform technology, privacy, e-commerce, and sort of UI and UX stuff. I am now a legislator, founded our Technology and Innovation Caucus for the General Assembly, helping to educate legislators in some of these very complex forward issues, and do work in the AI space through our Joint Commission on Technology and Science. So glad to be here. Thank you.
We need so many more people like you in our legislatures. I just have to say, I'm so impressed. So, and thank you for moving from tech into probably some of the most antiquated spaces we have. So it's exciting to be with you here today. I've been part of course, this group since it was founded way back when. So my name is Shawnna Hoffman. I'm the president of Guardrail Technologies. We put guardrails around the AI, so excited to be here and talk about AI. I've been in AI for over 25 years, if you can believe that. Got my start with writing my first machine learning program because I had a judge come to me and I was his expert witness, and he said, hey, it's Friday, by Monday I need you to tell me what's in this data set. And I panicked and I thought, well, let me see what new technologies are out there, and had a great time just, playing around, writing a summary of the code. And then that was kind of my first foray in, and I have been playing with it ever since. So I also have worked at IBM and Dell and some of the big companies. I was a chief technology leader at Dell, where we used AI. I had over 90 different software products, many of those, some of these advanced solutions that we see today. And then of course, led the IBM Watson legal practice for a decade. Got to see Watson from its infancy to where it is today. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Shawnna. Hi, everyone. My name is Yeshwant Muthusamy. I am an owner and principal at a small AI practice in the Dallas area called Yeshwant Solutions, where we help companies large and small on their AI journey that involves doing custom AI solutions and also AI training that's specifically for business leaders, C-suite, any non-technical professional who needs to understand the value proposition of AI and how to use it, what it can do, what it cannot do, but doesn't care about the technical details. So if you ever come to my class, no math, no programming, but you will leave with a solid understanding of the capabilities and the limitations of AI. I have my background is in computer science and engineering with a specialization in AI, and I think I have you beat Shawnna by about a few years in terms of me being involved in AI. And I've worked in companies doing AI, like at TI, Samsung Research, Nokia, Toyota, and now I'm at my own consulting firm. And I am a big fan of using AI in a very responsible and ethical manner. And as part of that, I'm a co-founder of a startup that's focusing on patient-centric orthodontic care with orthodontic appliances and an AI and blockchain backend. So that's me. I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic. So, Michelle, you've got mail. I mean, you talked about being a practitioner in AI for a whole while. So can you tell us a little bit from your experience about the biases in AI and smaller companies? We all know that AI is as good as their data set that they've trained on. And there is a famous experiment by MIT where they trained 2 AIs on 2 different sets. One is criminal data set versus a general data set. So the first one was working very nicely. The second one went mental, basically, and displayed all those biases in it. So from your experience, can you tell us a little bit about it from your area?
Sure, of course. But first, I just want to give hats off because this guy is all in. He's got the best socks. It says, I love data. So I believe that everything boils down to data. Data privacy, data access, data generation. And as was noted, for any of these things, whether it's blockchain, it's any kind of algorithm, it's only as good as the information that is put into it. And what happens is because we are all human, that we all have our preferences, which often translate into biases. A lot of our blind spots, we all have them. And we program them into our algorithms. And so there are some amazing examples, one that you just gave, and then there are some that have been working in, say, you know, the space of that does the readers of resumes and how people are weeded out based on name or based on gender or based on some other attribute or characteristic. We're getting better, though, to be able to kind of stop them. I think Amazon had a great story of where theirs was in the news in a very bad way, but they were able to fix it before it went too far. So what we've seen really is a real concerted effort to have diversity of thought, experience, and background for programmers and coders, because we don't know what we don't know. But what we do know is that even from neuroscience, our brains get hardwired by what we think, do, and pay attention to repeatedly over time. That's the good news. The bad news is that our brains kind of hardwire based on what we think, do, and pay attention to repeatedly over time. And so those kind of get into our algorithms. And without a diversity of thought, because those different life experiences that form our lens and our perspectives of how we view the world, how we experience the world, those perspectives need to be at the programming table so that we can look and see what is being developed and what the disparate impacts are. So what we're starting to see are efforts at looking at algorithmic discrimination. Every time you say the words bias or discrimination, people automatically go to race. Maybe that's just a product of our nation, but I will say there's all kinds of ways that disparate impact happens beyond race and beyond gender. And that's what this new wave of assessment impacts are meant to capture. So Colorado is a state that just passed the first law. There are some tweaks they're making for this next legislative session. But several of us are bringing forward legislation that will require developers. And so that's whether you're using it integrated with or sitting on top of a blockchain or as an applicable programming interface, acting as an agent to grab things from blockchain, that those developers are going to create and perform assessment impacts. And if anybody is familiar, you know that the EU AI Act just came out. There was lots of blood, sweat, and tears that went into putting that into place. And so some of the frameworks from there, some of the NIST frameworks, some of the ISO frameworks are all sort of on the table as we put together what the recipe is for the US. And so what you're seeing around addressing algorithmic bias and discrimination is looking at things that are high risk and consequential decisions. So the question becomes, if there is bias in these things, do we really want AI to make the final decision about whether to send a nuke or not? Or do we want a human in the loop at that point, right? And so those assessment impacts would happen at the developer level, and then when it's transitioned over to deployer, who then integrates it into their systems. They would not necessarily have to do another assessment impact unless they started to take on the characteristics and behavior of the deployer because they needed to manipulate and massage it to make it fit into their systems. And there's disclosure and transparencies, because I think not only do we need to protect data, but we also have to make things transparent so people understand this is where the data is coming from, this is how it was treated, and this is what it's disclosing. Because eventually we'll get to the point where people have choice to either opt in or opt out for some of those things.
I wanted to mention one thing about the Amazon jobs. Here's what I thought was really crazy about this. And when you said data is so key to that, because data and so they were training the AI. Hey, these are the top a handful of resumes. I think it was like 500 resumes. So they said these are the top people. These are who works. Well, guess what? Everyone was a male. So if my resume, and I have some qualifications behind me, my resume had gone in that pile, I would have been rejected immediately. Just because the AI said, well, I don't fit whatever they're looking for. So we have to really think about the data sets and say, okay, are we inclusive in our data sets and not just holding back? So that's the one thing I think was a beautiful lesson learned, but I think we don't talk about that enough. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
So I actually wanted to add another anecdotal thing. So the Philharmonic Symphony noticed that they hire more male musicians than female musicians. So they thought, okay, the interview process is rigged. So what they've done is they decided to do a curtain and have everybody perform behind that curtain. And once they've done that, guess what happened with their selection, male, female? What do you think? It actually was the same. So they were like, wow, that cannot even be. So then one very clever person decided to do one thing. They asked all the musicians to take off their shoes while walking behind on the stage. And then it was 50-50. Why? Because women wear high heels. So the judges were hearing those knock steps and associating that. So the question becomes, what will AI hear in the data? And how can we guardrail it for that? And with that, I'm just going to turn it to Shawnna.
Oh, I have chills just listening to that story. I haven't heard that one. Because if we think about it, the noise that is training AI, this is a living and breathing system we are creating. And I have a new ad campaign we just launched because I was like, I don't think people realize AI is each of us. It's me. It's you, it's you, it's you. Everyone in this room has provided data to AI. There is nothing new under the sun that it is sharing with you. All it's doing is saying, okay, well, what's the next best answer? The AI system today will never be accurate. It's a math problem, it's a probabilistic model, so it will never be accurate. It's just going to give you that next best answer. If you ask Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, pick a handful, the same question, you will get different answers. And so, and there's so many things to talk about, but the guardrails, we have to think about it from two different perspectives. It's the guardrails on the AI model itself, but then if we only guardrail the AI model, what are we missing? The human component. So how do we put the guardrails around the human and help guide them in good directions to then work with the AI in a way that actually works the best? So for example, making sure that you're not prompting the AI with cuss words. We have a crazy example in the UK. I got 5 phone calls right in a row from big banks going, we need to talk to you about guardrails, because there was a chatbot that had chatted with a client or customer. The customer had cussed out the chatbot. I mean, honestly, how many of us have probably done that? I won't claim to say anything, but, and then the chatbot cussed out the client because what does it do? It's living and breathing. It's a parrot. It's gonna have conversations. So then the next step, oh, it gets worse and, well, better. Actually, for me, it's quite humorous. So then the consumer, or the customer said, well, you're the dumbest chatbot, said derogatory things about the company. And there was a beautiful poem that was probably written by a 7th grader from somewhere that the chatbot responded back with about how dumb the company was and how stupid the consumer was. So it was really fascinating. That, of course, hit the news in the UK. So we see lots of issues, but again, there was no sort of protections. Again, that's the problem with the AI model, but also a human problem. We're not realizing, would you go and cuss out another human being? Well, maybe, but cuss out another human being? Probably not. You're going to hold restraint. We need to make sure we're holding restraint against these AI systems. And, you know, our company, of course, with Guardrails, we've put those guardrails in place to make sure that protecting the AI from the humans, but then also the humans from the AI. That is really key today, I think. There's so many stories. With coding, for example, oh my goodness, intellectual property. And by the way, don't put your name, your social security number, healthcare information, don't take a copy of anything. Remember, the AI is continuing to learn and now knows more information about yourself. So I played around a little bit with it. I asked it when it first came out, do you know who Shawnna Hoffman is? Didn't know me. I was like, that's awesome. Well, it now knows me. It might even know me better than I know myself. So it's very interesting how much it is learning throughout time and gaining information. With that, as we're starting to prompt the system, there was a coder from Samsung. The coder had put in Samsung proprietary code. Well, guess what ChatGPT did? Gave him his answer for the next line of code, but also reshared Samsung's proprietary code all across the globe. And so these are things that we need to make sure our humans are being protected from, honestly, ignorance, stupidity, or trying to do your job quicker.
Fascinating. And by the way, if I have reached out to any of you and asked for money, that was not me, that was AI. A few weeks ago, I published an article titled, "What Does AI Think?" Because there is a misconception that AI actually thinks, or it's actually conscient, or can understand anything from what you are typing there. AI underneath is just predicting the next token. So it's simply, when you put a bunch of text, it tries to say, what would be the next word? How does it do that? Well, it looks through the oodles and oodles of information that exists, that it has trained on, to figure out the probability of the next word, and the next, and the next, and the next. So with that, I'm wondering, Yeshwant, what you have seen in your practice, since you are building AIs and so forth there.
I mean, a lot of people are amazed when they learn exactly that. I mean, I call all these large language model chatbots as probabilistic parrots, because that's exactly what they are. All they are doing is predicting the most probable next word in the sequence. And also all those anecdotes about the chatbot being nice to them or being rude to them. And the reason for that is, it's not because it is sentient enough to react to what you're saying. You have just taken the chatbot to the portion of the training data which had all those profanity to begin with. And so therefore, in responding to you, it just picked up the next word in the sequence, which might have been a profanity. So it is just a probabilistic parrot. That's all it's doing. And one of the things which I have found while I teach my course, which by the way is meant for the C-suite, I can literally see the light bulbs go off in the room once they have gotten a high-level understanding of how these chatbots work. Because they then realize that the chatbot it's not that the chatbot hates them, it's not that the chatbot has fallen in love with them, or it's not that it is doing something because of who they are. It doesn't care because it doesn't know who they are. And that is something I think the more people understand and realize, it'll help them in how they use these machines. I liken the use of these powerful AI tools to giving a chainsaw to a 10-year-old. I mean, if you teach that 10-year-old how to use the chainsaw, chances are he's going to do a fantastic job in getting all your hedges trimmed that afternoon. But if you don't give him the proper training, he's probably going to lose a limb or two and probably hurt the people who are around him as well. And that's where we are for a majority of the population, based on my experience.
So fantastic. And I think the one thing that I want to ask each one of you, before we go into the Q&A, because all the previous sessions did not allow for a lot of numbers, but I want to get your questions, is the road forward. So if you can tell us just one or two things in a minute about what do you see in the future and what are you excited about?
So I think that we cannot separate blockchain, AI, energy. They all have to be spoken about together because the draw on our grid, the demand for power is going to be sort of exponential. We're already seeing with data centers, and then once AI makes them even more efficient, the demand is going to be even greater. So we have to be thinking about these things in parallel as we develop and have more sophisticated technology. How are we going to power it in a way that's not disruptive to residential folks and consumers of the technology? Something I'm very, very excited about is that I think that there are some really incredible things that can happen with AI and blockchain together around records. Doesn't sound sexy, but I think about, I mentioned it yesterday with our VA, our veterans who often are waiting a long time to get services, and some of the offices, they're not connected efficiently around the country, and being able to really honor and serve those who served us. The second is around education. I think that is evolving very quickly. And the third is around augmentation of the workforce as opposed to replacement of the human function. And I just want us to make sure, just like we're talking about energy and blockchain and AI, that we're also talking about augmentation versus replacement as we develop a pipeline, and that we upskill and train and retain our workforces. And then finally, I think, oh my gosh, just in the entertainment spaces, as long as we are preserving the rights of our artists and musicians, I think there's some really fantastic, spectacular things that we're going to be able to do.
I was just want to say about the energy, I'm kind of like, have you guys noticed how as the energy consumption of AI started to surpass that of Bitcoin and all of that stuff, nobody's talking about Bitcoin energy infrastructure anymore.
That is an amazing point, actually, which is great. You know, and I love what you just said, and especially about veterans. That's something that's near and dear to our heart. AI and blockchain have an amazing opportunity to provide absolutely transformative changes. One of the things that you've heard on stage over the past 2 days is something that Heather and I and others are working on, is we're all coming together to solve problems and help the veterans, help those military members. We've got the National Hero Initiative. Please come get involved. We love your help, love your support, and it's a way that will, I think, really revolutionize our veterans' lives as we harness the power of AI and blockchain and healthcare for them. So really where the future is going is it's taking some of those, we have, amazing opportunities to take some of the big issues around the globe and fix them. The reason I got into blockchain was not purposeful. I was actually on stage, and I was, someone spoke, and then I spoke my AI, and then I was a professor back in 2017 who was a blockchain professor. And I was like, blockchain, wait, I've been cryptocurrency mining. He starts talking about blockchain enterprise. I about jumped off the stage, 5,000 people in the audience. I was like, I'm gonna jump out of my skin, that's brilliant. And so I was at IBM at the time. I went back to my team and I said, okay, so we are going to start bringing blockchain into the practice. So we use blockchain to be transformative for us because we needed the transparency and the traceability of the data that is going into the AI systems using that we're focused on law. And so we've been doing that for the past, since 2015. Now with Gen AI, there's even greater opportunities. I would say that as we start to look at solving these massive problems, the reason I founded our company, less than 2 years ago was because, as you said, I saw Gen AI come out and I was like, I've been doing this for 15 years by that point, like really, that's the only thing my life has been. And I'm going, oh, this is really scary. Because we put something that I would charge, like you can work with us without spending $20 million. If you remember, Watson was quite expensive. Now it's pennies on the dollar or free for any kid to use. It's very dangerous. I love the whole idea, of it being was it machete or yes, a chainsaw, yes. So we have this transformative opportunity, but then again, making sure that we've got the right data sets, but then we also have those guardrails around each of the parts of the process. Look at the life cycle, look at your workflows. I'm just going to say AI is not the end-all be-all. It is not the answer to everything. There's other ways to do automation. I've got a program we built out because I was realizing Gen AI wasn't doing a great job in summarization of some of the scientific data that my clients were needing for a carbon credits project that we have. And so I said, look out there, whatever summarization methods there are, let's get them into a list. And to do those comparisons is fascinating because we have our product now called Summarization Finder looks at all the summarizations and says, this one works for this data. This gets an arrow up, this one gets an arrow down. In coherency, this one's good for a 5th grader, this one would be good for a PhD level. So those are the types of things as we look at our models, which one actually, there's over 90 to choose from. Which one fits the use case that I have today? So we can solve the world's problems, but it is much more complex than just Gen AI and putting ChatGPT, from your phone. So.
Yeah, I mean, I am excited about the possibilities of AI and blockchain working together. I mean, I am frequently dismayed when I see the whole blockchain mindshare being taken over by Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, when in reality that is just one small application of blockchain. And I think blockchain can serve truly as the guardrails for AI. And I was using that even before I met Shawnna, by the way. and I think by the same token, AI can be the true killer app for blockchain, because with blockchain, a lot of the problems that people have had with AI, the lack of transparency, the lack of trying to find out the provenance of the data ownership, all that kind of goes away. You have a technically feasible solution for all those problems that frequently people say they have with AI. The only thing is, do we have the political will and the commercial push to actually make it happen? So I'm excited about the possibilities.
I'm excited that all of you talked about the intersection of AI and blockchain to show AI value, AI VP kind of thing, shameless plug. So we now have 11 minutes, and I want to be true to my promise. Let's get some questions from the audience. So can we have the mic going on? I see the lady in the front here first. We need hard questions. Don't go easy, okay? On them, right?
All right, I'm going to throw down. Tremendous panel. This was so exciting. So there are significant problems with model drift and degradation in model performance over time. Yet the way that we validate, both technically and clinically, in healthcare and life sciences are one-and-done validations, even for regulated digital therapeutics and other assets. Could each of the panelists speak to your perspectives on what real-time monitoring and evaluation and a continuous cycle of technical and clinical validation in healthcare could be accomplished? Could you share on those matters? Because we not only have safety to consider, we also have efficacy to consider, which has many challenges. So thank you so much.
30 seconds. Who wants to go first?
I love the question because this is real, and this is all in the same bucket as sibling of, hallucinations and all these things that can go wrong as a system degrades because you're not updating it, you're not keeping it current. I think what you'll find is that you'll see more and more from a legislative or regulatory end. I think you're going to see requirements that you have to do continuous assessments. I'm not a fan of government getting all in the business of the business, but there are some areas where I think it's critical for us to provide very firm guardrails, no pun intended, and some very strong, very sort of relaxed ones. So this is one of the places. So for example, some of the things that are going to be coming up that I'm seeing on the horizon are not only the impact assessments, but ongoing after that. So with every upgrade, and then minimally annually, and then the other piece will be sort of third-party, outside, independent audits to make sure that those things happen. So I think those are the areas that we'll start to see that are going to be locked in and required.
I don't really have much to add beyond. Yeah, I was like, that's beautiful. Because it really does need to start from that legislative view and writing out those policies and procedures and then pushing businesses in. There's a lot of things that we've seen as good practices in the financial services industry. You have those alerts immediately, but those alerts have to be pushed up to the human, and the human needs to see them live. There's no reason we should not have that immediately at our fingertips. And so I know with many of the things that you've been working on, there is that awesome component of having the alerts come up so that the humans are really protected.
I think that this calls for really making sure that they are skilled humans in the loop to ensure that there is no model drift. You have to update the models, of course, but these AI technologies at the end of the day are tools. You need a skilled human with the requisite expertise to make sure they're doing the right thing at all times. So.
Are you guys like calling for some kind of platform that can validate and verify, kind of like maybe AIVP?
Maybe the National Hero Initiative.
Next question.
Yes.
The hustle is real, guys.
Awesome panel. Kevin Jackson from the National Digital Foundry. We just finished some research for the National Science Foundation. And this being we were looking at the development and the provenance and pedigree of AI models. And what we found that since it's a young industry, everybody's building their own in their own silos, and no one's really sharing or talking to one another. But in order to be a profitable and innovative industry, you have to mature so that you have AI models off the shelf and that they are all aligned to some standard and that a user can actually compare Model 1 to Model 2, but there's a twist, how that model applies to your specific use case, because the different training data will drive a model to act differently. So my question to the panel, where should it be? What is this, where are we going with AI models?
I love this question. I'm about to jump out of my seat. I'm so excited. So a couple things. One, in Virginia, I'm bringing forward training model transparency requirements. Number two, we have to figure out very quickly what are the standards that are going to be uniform. So the other thing that's coming out in Virginia next legislative session is that we are looking at NIST and ISO. They're saying that your standards have to be at least as stringent as those. We didn't go as far as the EU AI Act, so that consumers and businesses, deployers versus developers can say, oh, I get it because I know this is following NIST standards or ISO standards or something comparable. So that's going to help too, that we are using independent third bodies that are setting reputable, trustworthy standards that will go to trustworthiness as well. I also think, just as a closing comment, that we do talk about large language models, and they are out there. But the better equipped we are at creating these things, we're going to see, I believe, people creating their own. We're going to see smaller language models that will become very, very popular and populated across our ecosystem. So I think we're going to see even more happen, but they can be closed, they can be open, but I think we're going to see also a shift and a mix.
Well, I think first off, that's exciting. I love what you're doing. Any support you need, let me know. But one of the things that so if we think about what the basis of the problem is an intellectual property problem. why are they not providing those models open source? If, when I was working at IBM, I think this was probably 2018, we were all required, everything we did, to use a new font that they created. We had new fonts and new colors and everything. So the way that they were harnessing, because they believe at some point everything is going to be open source, or that was what was shared with us. At some point, we need to be able to keep our intellectual property. We can show that the first time it was ever created was with, we've got our IBM font. And so if we take that and fast forward it, that's why I think there is extreme power in blockchain, because we can still be able to make those models transparent, but be able to keep the data. I mean, there's probably, many levels of discussions that we could have to say, hey, this is what that good data model should look like, and we can manage that through blockchain. And so you can still have people be able to keep their intellectual property, make money off of it. There's probably ways we can pay people through blockchain. Anyone have a blockchain payment system? So, probably many in here. So I think there's ways for us to be able to capitalize on it. Our future is going to be totally different. Back at, what was it, less than 2 years ago, ChatGPT was created. It changed the world. We have now entered the 5th industrial revolution. Does anybody remember 20 years ago what they said that would be? It is not the robots taking over. It's called cobotting. So it's us working together.
Yeah, when I heard your question, Kevin, 2 companies came to mind. I don't own a stake in either one of them, but I like what they're doing. So I think they do merit some mention. Humans.ai, if you don't know about them, please go check them out. The other one is SingularityNet. They both are actually working towards a decentralized marketplace of AI models. And they also have a mechanism in place whereby data from different contributors are properly awarded using smart contracts on the blockchain. And having said that, just one more point, and something which I'm excited about. I think we are very quickly moving towards not large language models, but mini and micro language models, where I can very easily foresee a day where each one of us has our own personal language model on our phones. And they are all going to be augmented with our own agents. So if you want to have lunch, if I want to have lunch with me, I'm going to ask my agent to talk to your agent so that we could do lunch. And that's the world that we are actually moving towards. And it's much closer to being a fact than fiction. So.
Are we out of time?
Actually, we have only not enough time to answer that.
Okay.
So I'm really being the heavy.
Yes, I'm afraid of him, so I'm just going to wrap it up here. So I'd like to thank my esteemed panelists for this lovely panel. I think it was great. Thank you very much. And we are the only panel that finished on time, right?